wedding planner Xavier Kotz is joining me in studio, and he's going to tell us his 5 things people usually don't know about wedding planning.
Okay, so for me, when it comes to wedding planning, obviously it would be better to have your own wedding planner because we know what we're doing. But not everyone can afford one, or not everyone wants one. Most clients want to do their own weddings. But for me, the 5 sort of tips that people need to remember when they're planning their wedding is, the first one is to make sure that their venue is the right choice, that their date is secured, and they also just need to check the weather around their venue for that year. Number 2 is, once you've got your venue, then you can go and book your other suppliers, okay? A huge emphasis needs to be placed on photographers, because if you don't have the right photos, you're not going to remember the day the way you wanted it to be remembered.
And you shouldn't ask your friends to take pictures at your wedding.
Never.
Please don't do that. Don't do that.
Do you know what the thing is? Yeah, you know what the thing is? Like, if there is a professional photographer and there's someone in their way, you know, they're not going to get the shots that they want. And those flashes that are going off, it's just not going to work. So when it comes to planning your wedding, not only if you know you've got family, because everyone's got a family member that likes taking photos. And sometimes you can't stop them. So that can be part of this sort of like second tip. Check with your photographer if they're okay with someone being there and taking photos as well. 10 to 1, your photographer will say no. And they'll ask who it is, and they'll sort of like go and talk to them on the day. The third thing is, when it comes to your station and your invitations, for me, it's not a huge budget like spend. You need to go as simplistic as possible. If you do want to create a precedent of an immaculate wedding, obviously you're going to spend a little bit more on stationery, but make sure that you choose the right stationery artist, because things that can be folded and stuck together, if it's not done in the right way, it just looks like it was done at home, and that's not the kind of effect you want. Okay.
What about email invites?
Email invites work very well, in my opinion. You know, it's something that's very good, and when it comes to admin, that's the last point that I'm going to give you. But when it comes to admin, it's so much easier keeping track of who is coming, because people by nature hate RSVPing.
Yeah.
They are so late, and it affects you, because when it comes to planning your wedding, you need to know your numbers so that you can confirm your food and your venue and your flowers and decor, because those are the 3 things that are affected by your numbers. The 4th tip is, you've got to keep in mind that the amount of people you want to invite, realistically, you need to add a little bit more. Everyone underestimates how many people they know and how many family members and friends they have. So when it comes to that and the amount of people you're having, the most important tip that I will give people is, you need to remember that it affects 3 things. It affects your venue costs, your food, and your flowers and decor. Because the more people you have, the more tables you have. The more tables you have to do up, the more chairs, the more flowers, everything. More food, and more per person cost with your venue. So just keep that in mind when you are counting your guests.
Figuring out who you really like.
Exactly. And the last one that I'm going to give people is, when it comes to admin, wedding planners are good at admin. Emails, checking up on suppliers, making sure everyone knows what's going on, and event timing and your structure for what's happening on the day. If you're going to do your own wedding, you need to make sure you have got that completely under control. And also, don't send a million emails to different suppliers. Try and keep your emails to 1 email listing the different kind of things that you want. For example, don't send an email and be like, do you think it's going to rain on Sunday? And then send. And then, oh yes, I wanted to ask you, can you take a photo of my grandmother? And then send. Keep in mind, suppliers, they've got hundreds of clients every single year.
Yeah.
To keep track of all of the admin things on their side can get a little bit tricky. So try and keep your emails to 1 with all the questions and the things, and allow your suppliers to reply in red, for example, with the questions and the answers. And that's it.